So small, medium and micro enterprises are often punted as the economic lifeblood of the country. The sector provides employment to more than 8 million people spread across close to 5 million formal and informal SMMEs, contributing to 40% of the turnover of all enterprises in the country. Now, with Eskom warning this week that electricity tariffs must increase and that power outages are here to stay until at least March 2022, SMMEs will be hit quite hard. Entrepreneur Tom Savage joins us to chat about the impact of load shedding on meeting supply and demand during the COVID-19 lockdown. Tom, thank you so much for joining us in studio. Thank you for your time. I just want to find out what type of business are you in? Are you in the food and catering business, etc.? And how have you been affected after lockdown?
So we're in the restaurant business, or food and catering, and we've been very affected after lockdown with a lot of adaptations that we've had to make in regards to business operation. But it's been an interesting journey, and it's definitely been a big learning curve at how we come out the other side positively, thinking positively and making it work for ourselves and for the industry at large, I think.
All right, and in terms of a backup, when there is a situation of stage 4 load shedding, do you have generators, inverters, etc.? Because I gather you cook a lot, or you use gas. Are you able to operate considering that there's no power?
So we have a gas stove, which is our go-to secondary option. Other than that, we've got no generators, we've got no inverters. I think for a small business, it's very challenging to put down the cash to use a generator that will power enough in our building to make it worthwhile. So gas is our go-to option. And then we have this great thing called Lay's chips, which also work in our favor. So, yeah.
Okay, so the cooking is sort of taken care of. Yeah. But how do you deal with a patron who comes in, let's say they're about to have something to eat, and your power goes out? Are you still able to accommodate people in your facility?
So we are. We're fully operational during load shedding. It's just not the same experience as it would be, obviously, with electricity. But people are very understanding when they come through. I think they kind of know what to expect now. It's been around for long enough that they have a basic understanding of what the load shedding does to the economy in general. And people sort of adapt with you. So we have a laugh about it and we get through, and they're almost more supportive when there is load shedding. They kind of they give you a bit more understanding than they would if you were fully operational.
Let's talk more about profitability. Does things like load shedding affect your overall profitability? And I'm saying this on the back of dealing with the effects of level 5 lockdown as well. Has that affected profitability?
Massively. I think the biggest thing is the sentiment that people have when things like load shedding happen. We can see it on a weekly basis where, like for instance, this week, Wednesday, we had stage 4. And it's not that people necessarily stop coming out, but they have to stop their lives to plan for, how do you get into your house? For example, now my gate's not working, or what am I going to do about dinner this evening? So I need to go and pick up the kids and get my own gas sorted. And people then decide not to come out, they just go home instead of coming to a restaurant or going out. And that top-line sale, which is so crucial to what we do, then disappears from our day-to-day operation. So it impacts us massively in terms of profit and profitability.
What would your advice be for entrepreneurs out there who have small businesses and are trying to stay afloat but are being affected by things like load shedding?
The biggest thing I can say is stay positive. We are sure that it's here to stay. It's going to happen again in the future. And as a small business, all you can do is keep your head as strong as possible and do everything you can to stay open and to adapt. The people who adapt the quickest and make the best how do I say, the people who come to the party best are the ones who are going to get through and survive. And I think if people just give up and throw in the towel, that's when it's all over, you know. And that's why I say, I mean, you might not have millions of rands to throw at a generator that's going to power your operation for the next 10 years. But to me, there's always a solution. There's always a way, whether it's lighting candles to sell your product or, you know, using gas as an alternative. You've got to do everything you can to stay open and keep trading.
Do you think government is doing enough to keep the doors open for small businesses? I mean, especially when you talk about companies or businesses not having enough money to buy things like inverters and generators. I'm just thinking small coffee shop barely turning over, for instance, are only able to serve coffee, for instance, when the lights are on. The landlord refuses to put an inverter or a generator. Do you think government's doing enough to support those kind of companies?
You know, it's a tough question to answer. I think yes and no. I think a lot of people will lean more towards saying that they're not doing enough. I think the biggest thing they could do is to keep the lights on. And it's easy to sit here and say that. I don't understand the logistics of energy manufacturing. But I think they need to do more to support small businesses, whether it's maybe funding or helping small businesses through this period. I think they probably could do a bit more to help us get through.
And then from the perspective of a landlord, do you think it would be the duty of a landlord to try and, you know, help the small business in any way by installing a generator or helping them install a generator? Because in that way, the knock-on effect is that the landlord gets his rent, right?
True. But I don't think the responsibility sits with the landlord. You know, the landlord didn't ask for any of this either. And the landlord may also be a small business or a startup business, you know, with one property as their first operation. So it's hard to then just say or assume that all landlords also have the ability to go out and buy a generator or an inverter and then pass that to a tenant at no cost. So I think it would be very hard to hold the landlords accountable. I think it's got to be a relationship and a working relationship that allows landlord and tenant to work together if they are going to provide that kind of solution.
Let's talk about future prospects of growth in your business, considering that load shedding is here to stay, March 2021 easily, or 2022. How are you planning on growing your business with that in the back of your mind, the load shedding aspect in the back of your mind?
So we've adapted our model a little bit, and in terms of growth, what we now look at, or what we're trying to do, is we're very much structured around a small but bigger surface area. So rather than having a restaurant that tries to seat 300 people and turn that over 2 or 3 times a day, we're going to find spaces, or we're going to have a restaurant that sits 30 people a day, and try and put 30 seats in through the door every day. And if we can do that Monday to Sunday, then we'll be able to keep ourselves afloat for the next 10 years, or at least until 2022. And finding a small space and adapting it and making it workable through times of COVID and load shedding is a lot easier than finding a big space and trying to power that through to 2022. I mean, yeah, so it's going to be about finding that balance between manageability and profitability.